And once again, this is Nightmare from Twisted Nightmare Gaming, and we are here again with Conan over at West Orange Comics and Games, profiling another deck. Go ahead and let them know what deck you profiling today, bro.
Buzz Shrine Garb Weavile, which is just an absolute mouthful. But this deck, it kind of began at Worlds last year. The key premise is that it doesn't run any GX or EX Pokemon, as you can see. Just all little baby Pokemon, and the idea is you kill these guys, you get one prize. They kill you, they take two prizes. So the basic premise of the
all these Pokemon I just got.
The basic premise of the deck here is that the basic premise of the deck.
Stop lying, Zach.
That was my bad.
Is that you're just trying to trade prizes favorably with your opponent. I choose to use Buzzwole as the big guy, so I run 4 of him. The reason why is because for 1 energy he does 30 damage, and when your opponent's exactly 4 prize cards it does 90 more, which ends up being 120, which then 2 shots every Pokemon in the game. However, there's a ton of modifiers that can be used on the baby Buzz to make the 120 damage become 200 damage, and I'll kind of walk you through that as we go. I run 2 copies of Sneasel, 2 copies of Weavile. So Sneasel's just evolved into the Weavile. The Weavile is used to deal with Metagross and decks like that run a lot of abilities. Also really good against Zoroark. It does 50 damage for each ability your opponent has. So if your opponent has 4 abilities, it does 200 damage, which basically knocks out nearly everything in the game. So the Weavile, again, a 1 energy attacker who can do a ton of damage and possibly take a 1-hit kill on a big GX Pokemon for 2 prize cards. I run 3 Trubbish and 2 Garbodor. So Garbodor's Trash Launch attack does 20 damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. In this game, we have to play a lot of items to actually get things rolling. So your opponent might play 5, 6, 7 items, and all of a sudden this 1 energy attack, again with the 1 energy, can easily become a 2-shot or a 1-shot kill on most Pokemon. So the whole premise right here is that we have Fighting, Dark, and Psychic. All 3 of them, 1 energy, does a ton of damage. So we need to find a way to accommodate 3 different types of Pokemon attacking simultaneously. And that's kind of the tricky part about this deck. To do that, we have to have a really strong engine to get here. And the 1 energy attacks have to be worth it. So to start with the engine, I run 2 Slugma and 2 Magcargo. Magcargo allows you to search your deck for any card and put it on the top, so you can go find exactly which energy you need for each one of the attackers and actually be able to attack with them despite the fact that their energy costs are so wildly different. Now, if you have less than 3 cards in your hand, a Oranguru allows you to draw until you have 3, so that card you just stacked with a Magcargo then comes into your hand due to a Oranguru. The last support Pokemon we run is Diancie Prism Star because she gives all your fighting Pokemon 20 extra damage. So if you're thinking of that massive Sledgehammer turn here for Buzzwole, now his Sledgehammer is 140 damage. So again, this guy is easily buffed up to a ton of damage, and this is one of the ways we're getting there. And that's the Pokemon line for this. So,
I don't want any of those. I have a milk allergy.
Okay. Alright, no worries.
So that's the Pokemon line. The supporter line is very different from most decks. Most decks are running like 4 Cynthia and blah blah blah. But I'm running 4 Lily. Because if I smooth over with the Magcargo that I showed you earlier, if I smooth over with this guy, that card's on the top of my deck. So if I have Lily, I can just straight draw cards instead of shuffling the deck and then drawing, which allows me to get the card that I just stacked with the smooth over. Kukui makes my Pokemon do 20 more damage, and I draw 2 cards. So again, draw the card from the smooth over, 20 more onto the Buzzwole. So before we had Diancie Prism Star already buffing up the Buzzwole Sledgehammer to 140, Kukui now takes that damage to 160. We play 4 Guzma so that our opponent cannot dodge our 2 shots. So we're trying to 2-hit kill things. This will make sure that we always get our 2-hit kill if we need to. And that's all the supporters for this deck. No Cynthias, no fan clubs. It really is just cut and dry simple. Now because we're not running Pokemon Fan Club, we have to find a way to search the Pokemon. So I run 4 Nest Balls. They search for all basic Pokemon. The basic Pokemon are Buzzwole, Slugma, Sneasel, Trubbish, Oranguru, Diancie. So you see we have a ton of basic Pokemon. This is a really easy to use card in this deck.
That's how we did it.
No downside. Ultra Ball is a staple for the format, so I'm running 4 of those. I run 2 Rescue Structure, which allow me to get Pokemon that are in the discard pile back. So I can discard a Weavile for perhaps for an Ultra Ball, and then use Rescue Stretcher to get it back. So basically the Ultra Ball begins to cost nothing at that point. So I like the 2 Rescue Stretcher. I run a Field Blower in case my opponent is running tool cards for whatever reason. Maybe weakness policies, get them away, then the Buzzwole hits even harder. I run 2 switch cards because I find myself needing these cards at every single one of my turns because I'm an idiot when I play this deck. So I run 2. Run 3 Choice Bands. When I'm hitting a GX Pokemon, I do 30 more damage. So let's go back to the damage tally on this Buzzwole here. 120, 140 from the Diancie, 160 from the Kukui, 190 from the Choice Band. Now it's knocking out most basic GX Pokemon. Shrine of Punishment, all GX and EX Pokemon take 10 damage in between turns. We'll go back to the Sledgehammer. So now the Sledgehammer effectively does 200 damage, which knocks out nearly like most of the Stage 1 GX Pokemon and still all the basics. Now, our Pokemon all use wildly different energies, so I run 4 Rainbow Energy, which count as any energy, so that I can satisfy the Fighting, Dark, and the Psychic simultaneously with just a single energy. Now, because the Fighting and the Dark are the most predominant attackers in the deck in the early game, I use unit energies that count as both Fairy, Fighting, and Dark. The Fairy doesn't matter, but the Fighting and Dark do, because it allows the Weavile and the Buzzwole to attack. I run 2 Counter Energy at the suggestion of my boy Evan. He's like, you put it on the Buzzwole, and then maybe outside of the 4-price turn, you might be able to swing around by just having one of these preloaded. Basically what it says is if you're behind, it counts as 2 of any energy. This deck will almost always be behind, because your opponent will almost always set up faster than you do. So, 1 Beast Energy counts as any energy as long as it's equipped to an Ultra Beast. You can see here on the Buzzwole card that it is designated an Ultra Beast. So, what's cool about this is that our Sledgehammer tally, if you've been following, is currently 200 damage. Well, with Beast Energy, it now does 230 damage, which now knocks out just about nearly every Pokemon in the game for 1 energy with a Pokemon who dies for only 1 price card. So you can see how great the trade-off is. So this deck is very similar list to Caleb Gedimer's, except I'm not running any basic energy. I can say that that's definitely one exploit on my list, is that circuitry is going to mess me up real bad, and enhanced hammers will mess me up real bad, but the trade-off is that I get to run an elevated count of the Weavile in the deck. I really like the elevated Weavile count because I find that people really are relying on abilities in this format, and it's hard for my opponent to play around managing their bench so they don't get a lot of abilities in play, managing their discard pile so they don't put a lot of items in play, and still being able to knock out this Macargo so I can't get any card I want. So in a sense, this deck is less aggro than it actually looks. It actually ends up being much more control heavy. Your opponent plays less items, they play less Pokemon, and they do less things. So really, this deck is just a control deck in disguise. I think that's one of the coolest parts about this deck in the format right now.
Okay. Any other words you have for everyone?
Pretty straightforward.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming back and doing another profile with me, man. All right, again, this has been Nightmare with Twisted Nightmare Gaming. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Oh! Yeah.